Welcome to On the Bench. We've got a special little episode here today. Big guest, though, Bud Elliott from 24/7 Sports, CBS Sports, the dude when talking college football. He got to have an awesome experience here recently, kind of getting the inside scoop on one of the most anticipated video games that I can remember, especially in the sports realm. We've been waiting 10 years for this, I guess 11 if you're really counting, but you got to go to the EA Sports headquarters down in Orlando. I know that's the hometown for you, but getting over there, I guess, how did that opportunity come about, and what was that experience like?
Yeah, appreciate you guys having me on. No, it was pretty cool. So I live here in Orlando. EA is based in Orlando, and I'd gone over there a couple times before. At times when there had been rumors that the game was was coming back, or that they were starting to look into it, and just some different stuff I did back in like the SB Nation days, even we just sort of learning how they make games and whatnot. And I'm not really a huge gamer. I like to play the college football game, and that's pretty much it. I used to play MLB The Show, and then had kids, so kind of gave that up. But they're like, hey, like you talked about it a lot on Cover 3. I had done some like consulting discussion with them about the game, and they're like, come over and check it out. So let's do it. So it was myself, Chris Benini from The Athletic, Andy Staples, who else? Matt Murschel from Orlando Sentinel, and Matt Brown, who runs Extra Points, not The Athletic, Matt Brown, and Robbie Callan, who's with Up Rocks, and then a whole bunch of like video game journalists, which I didn't even know existed, but that's just probably me being dumb. Like there's a ton of video game journalism out there. So it was cool, man. Like everybody kind of had a unique kind of slant in what they wanted to find out. And they gave us a 2-hour presentation, and then we played the game for about 2 hours there after lunch, and just kind of got to take it all in. Took a bunch of pages of notes, and it was pretty dope.
I mean, shoot, like, so you talked about, or you got to like really play the game, and you said it was, as far as what you got to play, it was just the play now stuff, right?
Yeah.
And
they wouldn't let us do the Dynasty mode, but they showed us a lot of Dynasty and Road to Glory, but they didn't really they didn't let us actually play that version of it.
Yeah, so I guess like with the team ratings and stuff like that you got to see, I want to know like I guess what stood out most about that, and sort of did you think, because you understand this stuff as well as anybody, so like did you think the team ratings was more based on like kind of accurate from how you would perceive it, or was it more like popularity of brand and that sort of thing?
I thought they were pretty good overall. They mentioned that they worked with PFF a lot to try to get the player grades, which they felt was really important in the transfer portal era. And somebody who's shooting the summer school series on Cover 3 right now, like, yeah, transfer portal era matters a whole lot with with how many guys move around and how much rosters change over from year to year. I thought it tracked pretty well. I played I played as Oklahoma, which is not rated as highly as Texas. I played as Utah, which was one of the higher rated teams in the Big 12. They seem to have really done their due diligence. Like the Childs kid for Michigan State, who I think is one of the most talented quarterbacks in the country. He cooked me on a couple drives too when I was playing as Utah. So I think they're pretty accurate. I gave Chip Patterson a little grief today on Cover 3 because he's a UNC grad, and that was the only one when I was scrolling through. I was like, wait a second, UNC. I don't know. Like, you guys know they lost Drake May, right? He's not back anymore. So that was cool. I think people will be pretty excited with what Florida State's rated. Like, I didn't see them like all 1 to 25, but they're certainly like not outside of the 25 or anything like that. It should be a pretty good team. And I don't think there's anything really that I saw that I was like, oh, they whiffed on this. Like, and the dudes who make this game are like absolute college ball geeks. Like, it's not just like a couple dudes from the Madden team who they pulled over and said, hey, make a college football game. It's like these guys live and eat and breathe. It's just straight college football. Like, the stuff they ask is really, really in depth. It's like, they're like, hey, what should the pipeline be as far as like this state's like having this, like the what type of player, what position comes from this state for the pipeline feature for Dynasty, like that level of in depth, which is, I think, appreciated if you're going to spend that kind of money for a college ball game, right? Like you want it to be different than Madden, not just Madden reskinned with college ball logos.
You were the Florida State representative within the media, obviously, with the locker, if people didn't see the photo, but had a locker along with the rest of the media that was kind of decked out with Florida State stuff. But I guess my question is, what else did you learn about, Florida State's involvement in this game?
So all of the teams were really pretty excited once they realized like it was legal. I think almost all of them were pretty excited to work with EA Sports to make this game a possibility. And once that ball got rolling, I think they were all nobody wanted to not have all of their schools, what makes that school special in the game. And EA was working with kind of the mantra that like every school in this game is somebody's favorite school. So like, let's make sure that the experience they have with that school is what it is. So, you want to see the Garnet and Gold guys in there, they're in there, right? Like you want to see them literally make a horse to do the motion capture AI for Renegade. They got that, right? Like the level of detail, I think, that makes going to Doak Campbell special is reflected in the game, right? Like you're getting the actual fight song at the right time. You're getting the war chant at the other time, right? Like you're getting the alma mater at the right time. The cheerleaders line, the hash marks as the team runs out but behind Osceola and Renegade. So just the level of detail like that, I think, is really good. They, Florida State runs through a banner, right? They have that part down. It's and like we saw the behind the scenes motion capture of that actually, right? Like a big banner, and they went to Doak and they measured exactly how wide like the tunnel opening is and the banner and the size of the banner so that wow. Like the aspect ratio is appropriate for that. They did like scans of each stadium. That's something you'll notice for sure. Like the stadium quality and what you're playing in looks a lot different than stuff used to, for sure. So I'm definitely excited about that.
What was like is there a single like most like in-depth like detail or like a single detail that kind of stands out most in your head of like the whole game experience? Kind of thinking most about or thinking more about how, I don't know, I guess showing like the effort and detail of the developers and stuff.
From like a college ball like nerdery perspective.
Yeah.
Okay, instead of just having the stadiums like striped, blue, white or whatever for whatever team you want to pick for that, they worked with the schools and were like, hey, dude, what's y'all's exact stripe pattern? They literally colored every single seat to the specifications of the school. So like Tennessee's checkerboard, they said like all 100,000 seats are actually coded that way to actually affect the checkerboard relative to each section. So if you are in, section 11, row Y, seat 9, and you're like, hey, when I'm at Tennessee, my shirt is always white for the checkerboard. Like they have that correct. Like they don't necessarily swap that up. Boise State runs like a triple swath thing. So they did that. Like, so each one, if your school does something like that, is different. I thought that was, pretty cool. Like the positioning of the bands are different for each school, and they worked to get that right. From a gameplay perspective, they say they have 134 unique playbooks, which is pretty nuts to me. And I only had 2 hours. I can't confirm all of that, but I'll take their word for it. I guess it kind of makes sense if you feel like everybody's kind of off some kind of tree, and then you make tweaks to each of the trees. But it did feel like I played a full game with Utah, and it was like, this is a lot of stuff and that was kind of a unique playbook, right? That they run up there. So I was like, this does feel like what they run. Norvell obviously is going to be, different than that, as will, Napier and the guys at Georgia and whatnot. So that was pretty cool. The run game stuff is noticeably better. Like the run game feels like passing in a way. Like it's not just, hey, mash your guy into the line, a little bit of patience and go. You actually have to follow the correct track that you would have to do in a real game with a real run play. Like if I'm running, outside zone or inside zone, I better press the right hip, right? I better take the right track And if I do, and I read the blocks correctly, pretty good chance it opens up. If I don't, then that's I'm going to kind of kill the play myself. Dropbacks are also a lot more realistic. Nobody drops back, running 23 miles an hour on the GPS. Okay, so you actually kind of have to make your tie your drop back to how the offensive line pass sets. Otherwise, you're going to get cooked because then there's just a straight angle for the DN to crash. It's also a lot crazier than Madden as far as the wild stuff that happens, which reflects, I think, the college game. I mean, we cover a game of really young guys, 18 to 22 in most cases. They do stuff that pros just don't do. It both good, but also in kind of the bad, the bad, wild, wacky type stuff. So that was pretty neat. And they put a lot of emphasis on the mental abilities as well. So if you're some hotshot freshman quarterback, you go all of a sudden you go into Doak or you go into Death Valley or wherever. You may not have your entire playbook available to you. You may have some high leverage downs where you go to preview your routes, you only see one route or only see two routes, and the other ones are grayed out because your experience level is really low. So I thought that was kind of neat. So in the old games, cool, you got a guy with 99 speed, he's probably going to dominate. Now, maybe not. Maybe you need some other skills to go along with that.
I think the game mode that most people are, I guess when playing NCAA 14, the game mode that most people loved was that Dynasty game mode.
Yeah.
What did you learn from, the presentation part of that experience about Dynasty that you can share with us?
So, yeah, I thought that was really cool. And I'm glad you asked about Dynasty because I took notes on the road to glory stuff, but that was not the mode I played when I played NCAA 14. I would play the Dynasty. It's sweet, dude. I mean, there's so many different attributes you got to nail in recruiting. I think it's a lot harder than it used to be to build up a team's national championship good. So maybe you can take Ohio or San Jose State to the national title in year 22, but not in year 3. The level of player that you can get based on year-over-year success is, I think the quality of player available to you increases more gradually than it used to. It used to be cool. You went undefeated twice with with Northern Illinois, and now all of a sudden you're in the mix for 5 stars. That's not really the case anymore. At least not from what I saw on the screen. It didn't look like there was any weird out of place schools. Wait, why are they in contention for for that level of player? Your coaching staff and your coach, they have different attributes, and there's different tracks you can take. So you can go and basically take a motivational developmental track. You can take an X and O's track, or you can take a recruiter track. And you can't just be all awesome at all 3 of those things until very, very late in the dynasty. It takes time to become Nick Saban, which again kind of tracks the realism aspect of it. So that was pretty neat. And then you can maximize or perhaps be punished if you don't put your staff together in the right way. And there's no really right way is not the correct term to use there. I would say it's probably more optimal way based on how you want to do things. If you're really, really good on the sticks, maybe you do go full recruiter, right? But if not, maybe you need somebody who also can do some development and motivation, so you don't have an Auburn, New Mexico State type situation where you lose to them on senior day. So it's that's pretty cool. There's the NIL aspect as well in there with the they don't call it NIL, they call it brand level for you as a player. But you got to be careful with how much time you spend on that and how much time you spend on training, because if you don't put any hours of your allocated hours into studying, you could actually become academically ineligible. So it's that's in Road to Glory, but still it's kind of cool.
Yeah, does NIL? Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Dan.
Well, I was just is NIL a factor in Dynasty, and what kind of role does that really play in that?
It does. Yeah.
I mean,
your school has a certain level of NIL. From what I saw, I don't think they gave extra battles endpoints, as opposed to another collective that's currently being sued or anything like that. But I think it more closely tracks with the level of program that you are. So probably like Michigan and Ohio State and Florida State and Georgia and all probably have a very similar amount of NIL available to spend, but not everybody does. I don't think South Carolina would. I don't think maybe Indiana would. Again, kind of pairing with the idea that it will take a long time, like it would in real life, to build something up. I mean, hell, look at Oregon, right? They have ridiculous Nike founder money, and it's still like they didn't microwave that thing. It took a long time, even with that level of resource to change the narrative and perspective on that program. They still haven't won a title, but you guys get my point. So it takes a long time. Maybe in year 30, you can win a natty with like Northwestern or something like that if you really want to.
What program are you picking first to turn around in dynasty mode?
Man, like back in the day, it was always like Air Force. That was cool. Like you could run the triple. You could recruit all of a sudden, get like really high level guys at Air Force to run the triple with. Like the stadium was cool. The fight song was cool. I like San Diego State's new stadium. You guys seen that?
I have not.
Snapdragon. That's pretty cool out there. I was at Arizona State and saw Kenny Dillingham this summer, and I had never been there. Like that's actually a pretty like cool setup that they have over there at Sun Devil Stadium. So maybe consider them. The challenge is in picking a program that's kind of down its luck. I think. I mean, if you go Florida State or Ohio State, it's like, all right, I'm going to win a natty.
Yeah.
Although I guess if you try to win every single year, then
Yeah, I mean that you play it for the challenge. I think that's what most people liked about Dynasty was going to pick some random school and leading them to a natty. But I like the idea that you're saying now that it's going to be harder to do that at one of those lower level programs. I think that's something that as we've played over the years, waiting for this next game to come out, a lot of us have kind of put in like our own like little challenges. Hey, you can't recruit out of this area. You can only recruit within this region. But it sounds like they've kind of done that for us in this game, which I think will be a huge positive for that mode.
What was the name of the guys that kind of like worked on the extended version of the game, like the unofficial extended version?
Revamped.
Yeah.
So they actually hired a couple of the revamped guys.
Oh wow.
So
nice.
like I think they really liked some of the aspects those dudes had done with it. So
hey, the best aspect they added was 24/7 Sports as their rankings.
That is correct.
Mm-hmm.
There's no branding in it this year. They did get blue chip ratio in, which I was like, that's cool, man. Look at that.
Are you getting royalties off that?
No royalties for blue chip ratio. Which I actually need to like find some time between the summer schools to write blue chip ratio coming out.
Yeah.
I was like, the response from all the 24/7 guys for picking up all these slots for summer school has been like awesome. But like I was telling Zach, like I have like 15 minutes today to do this. We're recording 7 summer schools plus cover 3 plus HQ hit. So I was like, I got to find some time to write.
Well, awesome, man. Well, we appreciate you filling us in on all this. Obviously, super excited for this game to release, but we wanted to
do a Dynasty, man.
Yeah.
Dynasty.
Dynasty.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. We're going to run one for Knowles 24/7 for sure.
Perfect.
And Bud will be in there so you guys can beat up on Arizona State or whoever he picks. But yeah, man, appreciate you for coming on. Appreciate you taking the time during your busy schedule. We'll definitely talk soon. But for Bud Elliott, Dane Draper, this is Zach Blossing. This is On the Bench. Appreciate you guys for listening. We'll talk to you later.
See you guys.